Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're taking a look at the brand new drop pods. This video is sponsored by the Game Bunker. More on that later. Strike from the skies with new and improved Space Marine drop pods. Space Marines love more than dropping right into the enemy forces and tearing it apart. Their delivery method of choice is a humble drop pod. A simple vehicle comprising seatbelts, shielding, a few rocket boosters, and not much else. Drop pods slam into the ground with enough force to liquefy a regular human occupant, before its doors fall open and disgorge their superhuman warriors within. Classic Space Marine tactics all told. Warhammer hobbyists have been dropping their Space Marines onto tabletops for decades, so it's high time their noble chariot got an update. Better still, they now come in pairs. Alright, so we got a brand new drop pod design, very similar to the old design, but definitely some subtle changes. And now, instead of coming one per box, they're going to come two per box. I do like the new style of this, definitely like the look of the terrain that's been kind of added in around the open doors of the drop pod. Very, very cool. Still has the old style and design, but with some new improvements. The newest incarnation of the drop pod has a few major changes to better suit its role in the game. The new incarnation of the drop pod has a few major changes to better suit its role in the game. The Stormbolter and Deathwind launcher, normally mounted above the passengers, which, let's face it, was a colossal safety hazard, has been removed. While the endlessly fiddly doors have spawned 1,000 arguments about vehicle footprints, are now fastened firmly in their open position. The kit is significantly easier to build and will have a new datasheet that clarifies exactly where everything gets measured from, leaving little room for creative rules interpretations. That new datasheet will be available via free download when it is released. Alright, so I definitely like the issues that Games Workshop has addressed here. So anybody that's built a drop pod in the past knows that there are definitely some fiddly components to it. So while it's retained the old look and design, making it a little easier to build, definitely not a bad thing. I don't actually see like the Stormbolter and Deathwind launcher, so I'm not sure if they've been removed altogether, but I don't think that's a bad thing either, as they dished out like very mediocre firepower that was essentially inconsequential. So having no guns at all, definitely not a big deal. Just one less thing you got to worry about shooting or skipping. I do like that you could actually like have the drop pod with the doors closed, but the truth is, as soon as you put it on the table, immediately you open the doors and then go from there. And then also having the ability to open and close the doors definitely did cause some arguments, as you could put it in a place where it normally might not be able to fit by just not opening some of the doors. So having them fastened in their open position, definitely better, because now it has an exact footprint that's always going to be the standard. And then having a new datasheet, definitely crucial here. I'm sure they're going to make some subtle changes, hopefully nothing too crazy. One of the main benefits of the drop pod before is it could transport traditional Marines or also Primaris Marines, so one of the few vehicles that had the opportunity to transport just about anybody. Also, its ability to show up in turn 1, definitely a big deal, as normally you can't deep strike until turn 2. So being able to immediately just drop a couple squads of Space Marines on some key objectives and then force your opponent to come and get them, a powerful strategy, no doubt. There were always some issues with the datasheet, like for instance, it's not actually a dedicated transport, so you could technically use a empty drop pod. You didn't actually have to have somebody inside, which is kind of weird. And then also it definitely did create some issues with like creative rules interpretations as to where exactly to measure from, because it didn't have like a distinct footprint because you could open or close the doors when you put it down on the table. So we're going to get a new kit, we're going to get some new rules, hopefully no major changes, so it still operates the same in the game but makes it a little more viable, as you don't often see them on the table. And then of course, very nice to see that it's going to be a free download upon release. Now a quick word from today's sponsor, Game Bunker. Game Bunker carries a full range of Games Workshop products, including miniatures, terrain, paint, tools, and more. Game Bunker offers 15% off MSRP for most Games Workshop products with the discount code WHMS. Receive free shipping in the continental United States on orders over $145. Online orders ship out within 24 hours. Game Bunker is a veteran-owned business. Use affiliate link below, enter discount code WHMS to save 15% on most items at checkout. For fast, friendly service with a discount on your favorite tabletop wargaming purchases, visit GameBunker.net and let them know that Warhammer Man sent you. You'll note the impact debris under the doors. It's modular and can be added to suit your taste when building the drop pods. Each box will contain 2 complete drop pods, an excellent proposition for those who lack the natural deep strike capability of Terminators and jump pack intercessors. We recommend Infernus Marines for a blistering entrance, but the sky's really the limit. So yeah, very cool new kit. I definitely love the addition of the debris. It sounds like you'll be able to essentially put like various pieces of debris in various places, so you can build multiple drop pods in different configurations and it won't look exactly the same. I like the overall look and style of this thing. It definitely reminds me of the old drop pod, but it sounds like they've made some massive improvements in the actual kit itself. And they also bring up a good point here. Obviously, Terminators and things like jump pack intercessors can already deep strike, but squads like Infernus Marines or Hellblasters were always a nice drop from a drop pod. Being able to potentially rapid ingress a combat squad like Assault Intercessors without jump packs, definitely a good strategy. So lots of options with the drop pod. I would love to see them made relevant again. I'm also curious about what the price point's going to be, as you'll get 2 in a box instead of 1. And then of course the addition of the debris and the improvements of the kit. So if we just kind of jump over here and take a look at the current drop pod listing. So this is the Legion drop pod, which is the drop pod for either Horus Heresy or 40k, $58 USD for this. So presumably it's a new kit, so it would be more expensive, but then we'll get 2 in a box set. So maybe there'll be like a 2 for 1. So maybe there'll be a little bit of a discount per drop pod. So likely going to see this drop pod kit coming out with 2 drop pods for somewhere around $100. So it increases the price point of the total kit, which Games Workshop likes. But then also you save a couple bucks over buying like the 2 individual drop pods that used to be available. And then here we can see in the pictures, you have the drop pods with the doors open. And then you also had the ability to build the drop pod with the doors closed. And then of course they were able to be open and closed at will. So eliminating that going to eliminate some of the issues with like potential gameplay. And then here we can see like the internals of the drop pod appear to have the most changes. Previously, it came in a kit like this where you essentially had like 2 pieces of each door on each sprue. So you got 2 of this sprue, and then you had like the 2 fin pieces. And then you also got 1 of this sprue as well, which had the main hull of the drop pod itself. And then of course your transfer sheet as well. So definitely looking forward to the new drop pod kit. The old one was pretty cool and like held up pretty nicely. Definitely a big fan of this. The removal of the guns, or like presumably so, and then like the kind of redesign of the top part right here. The addition of the like little terrain bits to go around the base to avoid confusion. And then also add a little bit of extra coolness to the actual kit itself. Definitely exciting. So let me know if there's any particular changes you want to see to the drop pod rules, any changes in points or relevancy in the game. Always like to hear back from you guys in the comments. And as always, special thanks to the Game Bunker for sponsoring the channel. Check out the link in the description to save 15% on most Games Workshop products with code WHMS at checkout. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man, and it's definitely time for a new drop pod kit, some new drop pod rules, and for them to come back to the relevancy in the game. And I'm out of here.